Myself and my partner, Neil Mattinson, led the LDA Design Hargreaves team to master plan and deliver the Games Park, and subsequently I went on to lead our team that developed the designs for transformation into legacy, which doubled the size of the park. What I wanted to do tonight is just sort of step back a little bit. In fact, some of the very interesting things that perhaps pick up on and develop some of the very interesting things Phil was talking about, and just touch on three themes, and then just look at a few projects where I think these things have influenced. So the impacts of games, and I think those are influence, opportunity, and leadership. And I think the first thing, just to build on what Phil was talking about, is that the project, I believe, has had huge influence. And I think it's an influence which I've been a little unsuspecting about, and I actually am only understanding through talking to architects, planners, other professionals in London, that the Olympic Park has become a kind of an icon for landscape. A well-known architectural critic said recently to a friend, landscape is having its moment. And I think that the Olympic Park is that. It has been a kind of an articulation of that, has been a raising of the profile of that, so that actually now in planning applications the importance of landscape in projects has really come to the fore, and I think it's been significant. The other component, I think, and the influence is legacy, and we're finding this in a number of large-scale infrastructure projects, that the whole message about legacy, long-term thinking, about the value of long-term thinking for the future, the sorts of messages that are actually incredibly difficult sometimes for us to get across to our clients, but have actually quite subtly been put into our culture and into our professional memories and into our language, which I think is incredibly important to us, and we'll pick that up as well. And the third thing, I think, is time, that actually large projects happen over a long period of time, and that actually design is a process, and the awareness of that process and the framework that has to go in. In the Olympics, so many things happened which were maybe either politically influenced, priorities changed, financial issues came about, a whole series of things that happened, which meant that the whole thing had to sort of shift and turn, and we had to kind of be able to embrace that. And I think that more widely, I think that is becoming increasingly understood as a result of the Olympics. The other thing that I think was very important for our profession is one of those, I noticed, Phil, your largest word actually was leadership. And I really believe, for us as a practice, but I think also for the profession, the Olympic kind of raised a bar. The park was delivered in incredibly challenging circumstances, but we did, and we take great confidence in it as a practice, but I hope that the whole profession can take great confidence that as landscape architects we can lead these complex projects in very demanding circumstances, and at the Olympics we had a very demanding client, a very intelligent professional client, in very complex political and technically demanding circumstances. And I think it's that balance, in reflecting upon it, between design leadership and project leadership, the need for us to raise the bar ourselves as a practice, but to explore the whole thing about design rigor, design clarity, design communication, the synthesis of a whole series of broad and complex issues which had nothing to do with landscape but had to be integrated into design, and that could stand very robust interrogation. And yet project leadership requiring a whole range of other challenges, some of which I'm sure we did well, some of which I'm sure we missed on, but things like strategic thinking, being political, being able to prioritize, negotiation, communication, the agility to adapt, were all kind of fundamentals that were underpinned by a whole series of very sophisticated and complex management processes which we were new to, which we needed to adapt and learn about. And out of that, I think, as I say, came this confidence within our organisation, and I think we should have confidence as a profession to deal with those broad range of complex issues that often have nothing to do with landscape architecture, but also those design issues, and to synthesize design leadership and project leadership. And that, I think, was a great lesson. And in talking to my partner before this, the the confidence to do things is one of the things I think that we felt we learnt most from that. And finally for us, the opportunity, of course, in leading a project like this, we have gained a huge number of opportunities. Opportunities because of the profile it gave us and the credibility it gave us, but I hope also for our profession as well. Often the desire for association with the Olympics, it was seen as a very, very important and is much admired project around the world, that we made a lot of professional relationships, and we've expanded our capability. In fact, our client on the Olympics, or my client on the Olympics, is now joined my practice and is now my business partner. So the Olympics, I think, has provided a whole range of things, from influence to raising or increasing our influence, to raising our bar in terms of leadership and our profile and our ability to lead as a profession, and also a range of opportunities which I think have come about from that. And I'd just like to pick a few projects. The first, Gorky Park, Paul mentioned my work in there. Gorky Park, we have a very strong reputation for our parks work in the UK. But Gorky Park came out of the Olympics. They approached us, we didn't go seeking them. And it was because of that Olympic link. And Gorky Park is also an icon for Russia as much as the Olympic Park is perhaps an icon for us in London. And we had to deal with a whole series of issues around the whole kind of political significance of Gorky Park. It was at a moment of political opening up in Russia, and the demands which were placed, they were looking for us to come with a blueprint for how green space should be developed across Moscow. And we subsequently were commissioned to do concepts for a series of other parks by the Moscow government. I suspect we won't be doing any more work for them because I think international consultants are not allowed to be employed by public authorities now for the political situation. But we are working, but Gorky Park led to a series of master plan projects and so forth. So there's been some significant continued links. At Battersea Power Station, where we are the designers for all phases of the public realm, the experience of the Olympics in terms of dealing with a whole range of different architects, as we had to on the Olympic Park, and how you deal with the pressure, the demands, to some extent the egos, well actually quite a lot to do with the egos, which were all the things that we had to deal with interfacing on the Olympics, it was an incredible learning exercise of the Olympics, and we've definitely been applying that kind of experience and bringing with it that confidence that I mentioned to deal with a client body who were very like the kind of project management client body that we had on the Olympics, and how we deal with them in all those kind of ways that I was mentioning, and how we deal with them politically, negotiating, finding our way through in terms of keeping a coherence to the project, and also integrating and also recognising that it's a process. A whole variety of things are continually happening on this project. So whilst we have a kind of broader master plan, it is undoubtedly a process. And again, that experience of the Olympics has been very valuable in helping us to negotiate our way through that process. This is Swansea Bay Tidal Lagoon. An interesting project because it's an energy project using the tidal range to generate energy. And for us, though, we were in a position of leading this. And I think that kind of whole long-term, what I mentioned to you about the legacy and the long-term planning, was incredibly influential in persuading the client here that they needed to think of this project as a different type of thing, not so much as an energy project, but as a project that's leading the regeneration and the transformation of an area. So for us, it was about developing leisure facilities, so visitor centres, and there's a national sports and sailing centre. It was about creating a new destination, tourism with the visitor centre, a new piece of public realm, the opportunity for cycle routes and ecological development. And we took that project through a very complex planning process. Again, just sort of linked to that whole kind of confidence, that ability to draw on this very broad range of subjects, which included political lobbying, for example, political perhaps I shouldn't say lobbying, but it went as far as the Prime Minister and inviting him to our offices to meet the client. So for us, it's a very kind of broad project which we led through a very complex planning process, all the sorts of things which we learnt on the Olympics. Here at Cambridge University at the new museum site, let me go to the next image because it's a bit more meaningful. Working for Cambridge University, we were commissioned to master plan this site in a very, very sensitive area of Cambridge, one where we were dealing with the complexities of a very long-standing academic community, the university, but a whole series of very sensitive historic issues. And so we were actually master planning and leading the master planning of this building and providing the provision and meeting the operational needs of the university, whilst also creating a series of public spaces to enhance the whole quality and use and movement. And it's that, again, it's that kind of leadership, that overall drawing the project through a process which is about all those many complex things of negotiation and collaboration. And there we were working with a range of other architects. And I think one of my partners used the term orchestrate, and I think that was something else we learned, which isn't about imposing a single will, it's about guidance and encouraging others on with us. And finally, a project, Burgess Park, which was an international competition that we won in 2009, ironically because there was a quiet period in the Olympics, and we actually thought we weren't going to be getting any more work, and we had a team of people who needed to do something, so we went in for this competition. And I think one of the things that we particularly draw on here, not only the whole kind of technical side of land contamination, a horticulture where we developed new processes that were also which we took from the Olympic Park but applied them in a kind of more exposed local authority situation, but also the whole kind of process of consultation. And this project was on a knife edge at one stage in terms of trying to work our way through the resolution of relationships between a community and a local authority, Southwark, where really the relationship had broken down. So I hope that kind of just gives a sense that the Olympics, I think, has been very influential for us as a profession, but has also been particularly influential for us. And I think that kind of whole process of leadership, the ability to take a team, to lead, to orchestrate, to deliver great design solutions, I think is something we should really take from this as a profession. Thanks very much.